this small video clip is going to be about transparency. I wanted to show you this and talk to you about this because white is a very hard surface to work with, or color to work with. And this project that I'm doing is going to be a white rose, and it has a dark, very, very dark background. And when I was deciding what color of background to use, I first thought that I could use a black color. But the problem is here, that if you use a black background, and I'm going to show you, because color pencils are transparent, if you use a black background, it's going to be very, very difficult to get that very, very white color. This is not black, this is gray, it's a dark gray, and I have a dark gray, and I have here a light cream color more toward the color of the flower. If you use a light color, then your black is going to be very hard to make a very dark black. And I am showing you, and I'm going to show you with 3 different brands of color pencils. This is black of the Prismacolors, black of the Lyras. Oil pencils have less pigment than the Prismacolors, so you need more layers when you're doing with oil pencils. So I'm going to do a second layer of the Prismacolor, a second layer of the Lyra. And follow me here because there's something neat that I want to share with you. So this is the Lyra. Second coat. And this is the Polychromos second coat. Seems to me that the one with the most pigment is the Prismacolors, following by the Polychromos, and then the Lyras. Okay, so if you use a darker surface, I will show you how the black will show for the background. This is Prismacolors, one coat. One coat, and I'm using pressure because I want to get to dark, and Polychromos. Still the Prismacolor is darker, but this is only one coat, and it's almost the same as 2 coats in here. So let's do the second coat of the Prismacolor. Second coat of the Lyras, and second coat of the Polychromos. Still, the Prismacolor has the more pigment, needs less layers. So the only thing is when you're working a very, very, very light surface, oil pencils like Polychromos and Lyras are easier to work with on a very smooth surface because they don't have the component of wax, and it's easier to use those. So there's pros and cons. But what we're talking about in here is when you're going to work on a white surface, then you need to have a light surface. But in this case, I needed to have the dark surface for the background, so I was decided between what surface to use. Let me show you what happens with the white because of the transparency. And this is because color pencils are transparent. That's why we have this dilemma. So the background was gonna be very dark, and the rose is gonna be white of the Prismacolor, the white of the Lyras, and more transparent, and the white of the Polychromos. Okay, the Prismacolor still have more pigment, and the white is stronger. Let's do a second coat. Prismacolor. Lyra. And Polychromos. Oops, sorry. Okay, so I decided to work with the Prismacolors on this piece because I needed to put a lot of layers if I use the oil pencils for the white. Let me show you, if I use a light surface, what was the difference if I decided on a light surface. But we already know that the dark surface is better for the dark colors. Let's see what happens with the light colors on the light surface. This is Prismacolors. Lyra. And Polychromos. One coat. You can hardly see it. Then second coat of the Prismacolors. Lyra, second coat, and Polychromos. Okay, so definitely the white will stand more on the dark surface than on the light surface. So the color that I should select is a dark surface, but I will have to do a lot of layers to achieve the very, very white, and that is what happened in this project. And it is because color pencils are transparent, and you will not have to do lots of layers. So it is a challenge to do a white piece, but at the end you learn a lot. What I did was, on the background, I decided that even to make it even darker and nicer would be to use Gamsol, and I did use Gamsol in here, and that's what it looks so much better. Now that we're talking about this surface, I said before that it cannot be varnished. I did a small sampling here, and I decided to varnish it, and I was able to varnish that. So the surface can be varnished. The only thing is, if it's on the bird surface, like in this section in here, it only has the surface. You see, it turns darker. Oops. It turns darker when you varnish it, and probably you will not have that effect of the background that it has when it's not varnished. So this is also a place where I varnished the background alone, but it was contaminated because when I put the varnish in here, it probably moved some of the blue. So you will have to do a clean brush when you're going on the bird background, and change the brushes for the different colors. My recommendation is, if you are going to put color on the whole composition like I'm doing in here, I will put color on the whole composition. And this is sweatboard, by the way. The surface is sweatboard. I'm going to put color on this whole composition, so I'm going to try varnishing it at the end. And I hope it doesn't damage my whole piece, but I'm going to practice again on another piece. If working this one, I'm going to practice again, and if it works, I'm going to varnish this too. So that is something that I wanted also to share with you. try different varnishes if you want to, but the one that and try on these tiny swatches or pieces of surface. The varnish that I used was the DecoArt All-Purpose Sealer, multi-surface sealer. That's the one that I used. The more layers of color you add, the prettier your piece will be. See, was painted with oil pencils, but it has everything in here has a lot of layers of penciling. It is time consuming. This piece took 10 hours to paint because of the layering, because of the transparency of color pencils. So I just wanted to tell you that color pencils are transparent. That's why you can blend colors on top of the other. If you put a color on top of the other, and I'm going to show you something. Since it is they're transparent, once you put a color, for example, if you want a piece, and I'm just going to work with the Prisma colors. If you want something to be white, you have to put it white from the beginning, because once you put another color underneath, for example, let's say that you have black in here, but you wanted this to be white. Sorry. So if you try to put white on top, it's no longer going to be white. Because you put that black underneath, now it's blending with that black underneath. So if you want something to be completely white, you have to put white from the beginning. And then it's going to be completely white. Otherwise, you have already contaminated that white, and it's not going to no longer be completely white. Now it's going to be a gray color. So because of the transparency, you have to think about that. But the good thing about the transparency is that you can achieve very nice effects if you want to blend the colors. And this is an example. You want to blend these two colors. Because of the transparency, when they meet together, they blend, and you can make a nice blending between the two colors. So, because of the transparency, you can mix colors, and you don't need to have all the colors in the word, because you have several colors that you can mix together and do other colors. So I hope you enjoyed this mini clip about color pencil transparency, and join us from another session of the Color Pencil Club.